get started with the second panel of candidates tonight. I have decided to group all of the legislative candidates together. So we have House District 17 and 18 and Senate District 9, and they're all going to answer the same questions. So the race for House District 17 features 3 Republicans, Justin Cleveland, Susan Vesey, and Michael Fassbender, and Democrat Chris Bechtold. Chris will face the winner of the Republican primary in the general election in November. In the race for House District 18, Bruce Gillespie of Ethridge, who's completing a Senate term right now and is a Republican, he's running without any opponents. So everything you hear from him tonight, you're going to have to check up on him afterwards, because there's no doubt he's going to be representing House District 18. And then the Senate race for Senate District 9, which is made up of the 2 House districts, 17 and 18, features 2 Republicans, Representative Llew Jones of Conrad here, and Representative Zach Worth of Wolf Creek here. And the winner of the Republican primary will face rural Choteau Democrat Noy Holland, who could not be here tonight. I think she's actually out of the country, but she will be here in November. Justin has lived in Fairfield for 62 years. He's been married to his wife, Pam, for 44. He grew up on a farm north of Fairfield. He's a Fairfield High School Eagle. And then he spent 45 years in the workforce, with 34 of those years employed at Three Rivers Telephone Co-op. He's also an active community volunteer. He's been a wrestling coach. He's taught Sunday school. He works with youth ministries, and when he's not working or doing those things, he loves to hike and horseback ride in the mountains, do yard work, and help his wife clean the church building every week. So thank you, Justin. And next, Susan. Susan is a former legislator, former chair of the Montana Republican Party, a member of the Republican National Committee, a school board member, and a Lewis and Clark County Commissioner. She lives in Augusta. She's the president of Helena Habitat for Humanity, an organization that provides workforce housing. She's also a hospice volunteer. She's active with Augusta Food Share, and on May 17th, she notes she will have completed her American Red Cross blood donation, bringing her to 20 gallons over her lifetime. Wow. Michael is a Helena Valley resident. Married father of 6. He was born at Fairfield and grew up in Augusta and graduated from Augusta High. Go Elks! He earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Montana State University. Go Cats! And he is a partner in Quaid and Fassbender, a real estate investment partnership, and he owns and operates Sanford and Sons Auto. He has previously run for Lewis and Clark County Board of Commissioners. Chris has lived in Choteau for 31 years with his 4 children raised in the local school system. He worked as a biologist and a guide, and he's owned a Main Street business in the past. He recently retired from 24 years in ranch management. Butch, another rancher, grew up on a ranch west of Kevin, earned a degree in earned a degree in agriculture business and range management from MSU Bozeman, served 2 years in the Peace Corps in Ecuador. And he and his wife Doreen have 2 grown children. They're proud grandparents. He's active with Montana Stock Growers and the Cattlemen's Association, U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Llew and his wife Carole have 4 grown children and are part of a ranching family that has operated in north central Montana for well over a century. Llew is active in numerous businesses throughout the region, from agriculture to automotive to power sports. He's served in the Montana legislature, both in the House and the Senate, for numerous sessions. Zach and his lovely wife Patty operate the Rocking Z Guest Ranch, and Zach also worked as a construction contractor through the years. They have 6 children, all of whom are married and live in Montana, and many grandchildren. Zach attended Montana State University studying ag economics. He's a strong Catholic church grower. In the legislature, he has in the past served on agriculture, state administration, and transportation committees. And he also served in the Army National Guard for 6 years. So can I hear a round of applause for these gentlemen and ladies? All right, so we'll just jump right in. Like I said, they drew for spaces earlier, and so Susan drew the number one, and so she's going to start, and then we'll rotate through. We'll ask 6 questions, and they'll have time for closing comments as well. So, Susan, do you support the package of property tax bills that passed the legislature in the last session that lowered taxes for most homeowners and businesses, but increased taxes for second homes and larger businesses? So do you support that? And then are there any other tax changes that you would propose or support?
Thank you very much, Melanie, for first of all having this event tonight. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming out and doing your best to become informed voters. Yes, I do, in fact, support the legislation that passed. I think it was a good start, maybe even a great start, but it's going to need to be refined. And I think that most everybody would agree with that. It was a big help, a great start, but it needs to be refined. And in response to what I would do about taxes, I do have a plan for that, and I'm going to have another chance to address that. But it involves a supermajority to pass a tax increase. If you vote to take money out of somebody's pocket, it better be more than just a regular 50% plus one vote. It needs to be a supermajority because it's a big, serious decision.
Thanks, Melody. Thanks to all of you showing up tonight. It's great to see you all. The question was, do I support that package?
Yes. So do you...
Yeah, okay. I got it.
Okay. Do you support the package, and are there any other tax changes that you would propose or support?
As Susan spoke, it was a great start. I think when they lowered the residential taxes, everybody that owns a home, well, owns their primary home was excited about it. I know there's some second homeowners and people I visit with on the campaign trail that for 60 years have had property, and their taxes are going to force them out of those things. So there needs to be some adjustments made in those types of things that people aren't benefiting from that. They've had properties in their families for over 60 years, and now they're being forced out of that to sell them off, or because they can't afford the taxes on those. So I agree there needs to be some cleanup on it, and time's up, it says. So
I hope it goes that fast for me then. Yeah, so I do support that. I believe that we've made a pretty big change in the tax code with this. And with that, it takes a little time for things to settle out, to figure out what is going to happen next. What are the repercussions that we don't know about? So I think it's a good start. I think that more needs to be done. And I think that's something that's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of hard looking, because we do know that it's affecting some people negatively. Some people may need to have a little bit more dealt with, but we do need to give it time and see how it plays through the system.
So yes, I do support it. In 2021 to 2023, $270 million transferred on to residential because residential exploded. This tax bill cut taxes for 400,000 people. Now I know there are those that are angry. Northwest Energy, for example, saved $38 million when it transferred to residential. Now they're back to about where they were, and they're quite angry, as are some railroads or others. That being said, I know they're paying AFP and a bunch of folks to pound the doors against us because they would rather shift it a different direction. But absolutely, it's a great start. We're going to have to look at the unintended consequences and make adjustments, but 400,000 Montanans are better off because we made this decision.
Zach, go ahead.
I did not support this. I thought it was too great of a tax shift. I thought it was putting a lot of dancing around with some of our taxes, like a street shell game almost. And what people need more is predictability and accountability. If you go out and run a budget, like everybody's been talking about budgets, you need a budget for your taxes, and your taxes are surprising people all over the board right now. I think we need consistency, I think we need transparency, and I think we need to look at a complete overhaul. Thank you very much.
Good evening, glad you're all here. Yes, I have to fall into the side that's fully supportive. Worked hard to help get it passed. But I think there's some things that happened way back several years ago that all the people moving into Montana that helped cause this problem, and that's something none of us could have foreseen before that, prior to that. So that's, it just happened. Now we have to deal with it. There was a governor's task force studied this for probably about 18 months, and they were some of the best minds in the state. So I think that's why so many believe that it is a super good start. And of course, there'll be more tweaking to do. There always is, especially when it comes to taxes. So there's a few places that probably slip through the cracks, but that's to be expected, and it'll probably get fixed. So with that.
Mike?
Thank you, Melanie.
You're very
Thank everybody for coming out. I agree it was a start, but I oppose this tax shift. There were way too many unintended consequences that should have been anticipated. If it was the greatest minds in the state that were working on this, they missed a whole lot of things. For instance, renters. There were 36,000 rental units that were signed up for the tax, so their taxes didn't go up. There are 150,000 units in the state. So there are a whole bunch of renters that when those tax bills come out are going to get their rent increased, and they're already struggling. I think we need to go back to the drawing board on this and I agree the corporations should pay their fair share too, but when we raise costs on them, they raise the costs on us. Of course, the PSC, those guys all said they're going to defend us, so that would be good. But I think this needs to go back to the drawing board. It just wasn't ready for the prime time, and it took in way too many unintended consequences, and it's going to hurt a lot of people in the long run. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, each of you. We will move on to question number 2, and Justin, you'll start with this question. What is the most serious problem facing north central Montana? And what can you do to remedy or alleviate that problem? And of course, I'm talking about something that the legislature would be able to address. I know you would all make it rain if you could, and you can't, so outside of rain.
You said the most pressing issue in north central Montana. And it starts with the first one with the taxes. Out campaigning, I've heard a lot about taxes. And of course, in Teton County, and I think Lewis and Clark County are a little different, but in the North Valley of Helena with their price increases. And I think looking at taxes in a whole, I mean, we're taxed on so many different things. Like I've told people, I own horses just for pleasure. I pay taxes on those just to go have fun. You know, we get our pleasure taxes, and there's so many different things. But when they keep coming, and then the property taxes, people being priced out of those. And as a legislature, I think we need to really look at our property tax on unrealized gain. I know there's been a lot of talk about it, and there's been some people bring suggestions already that I've listened to, and it's something we're going to have to work through. It's got to work for everybody, not just a single group. It's got to be good for the whole state of Montana. So.
You stole my answer. I was going to say rain.
Sorry.
All right. Actually, I do think it does pertain to that, though. I think we've got infrastructure problems in a lot of small towns here in HD17. And those infrastructure problems are mostly related to water and sewer and other issues. And I think that what we've done is we've cut corners, and cut corners for years and years and years, and here we are with a truck that's not running very well anymore. So we've got to put some preventative maintenance into things, and that means the legislature and all of us as taxpayers are going to have to figure out ways to fix our problems and maintain them for the future so that our kids and our grandkids are not stuck with trucks that don't run. And I say that metaphorically.
Lou, go ahead.
So again, One, the tax issue I'll just touch on, I believe it's always going to be issued, 2026 will be better. But today in north central Montana, we have a water problem. Fairfield's headlines in the paper where they're about out of water. Augusta's trying to get its wells deeper. Whether if you're in anywhere with an irrigation ditch or trying to depend on water, we have a water problem. And we did start working on that. I got the heck kicked out of me for a bill named House Bill 924 that includes water and water storage to try and ensure we match the local counties on those items, and infrastructure and bridges. Teton County has 89 bridges, 15 of which are load limited, one that is actually closed. If we don't invest in our infrastructure, we're going to hand our children a falling in pile of junk. We can't pretend this is surplus when we have infrastructure that's collapsing around us. We need to be more serious about taking care and fixing it before it fails.
Thank you. Zach?
Lou was right. Lou was right about the infrastructure, and we've kind of dropped the ball in many ways. Some parts about 924 were actually very good bills, but there's some parts of it that I didn't care for, and I voted against that particular bill. I have a little bit of a problem when you bring a good bill, and then you add on some nefarious parts of that bill, then I have to vote against that bill, because that's a responsibility. This is why we have the tough jobs. Had many of those bills been pulled apart and brought in separately, I think it would have been a great bill, etc. But no, we have roads, bridges, the wells, all of these issues are there. They need some help getting this stuff done. I'm all for that. As a contractor, I love building things.
Yes, I happen to be on the wall.
I didn't do it.
Okay, here we go. Yes, I am on the Water Interim Committee, and yeah, the big, huge challenges there statewide, and you know, some of them are right here in Fairfield for something up close and personal. But so that's a big thing. Agriculture is our #1 economic driver in the state of Montana. So, and right now farming is cattle looking pretty good, but farming not so good. So anything we can do to improve that is a good thing. So we got to go. And another thing is, you know, some of this money was set aside last time, so we do have money in reserve when there is a crisis. And there was some criticism over that, but boy, when you need money and the chips are down, it's awful nice to have set a little bit aside for savings so that you can address some of these problems when you're really in a yank.
As she said, if we could make it rain, we would. They also say whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, and we do have a water issue in the state. I think we need to take care of our ag producers. They are producing our food and beer. I think that's the biggest issue, is just the costs. Like Joe said, his power bill in July is $20,000. My neighbor right now is fertilizing. It's not a very big chunk of land, and he's paying $6,000 to fertilize just a little chunk. So we've got to figure out a way for the legislature to help our ag community so that their costs can be controlled, and part of that is their property taxes too. So I think that's the biggest issue, is taking care of them.
Thank you. And Susan?
You know, I just looked down the line here. I'm the only woman sitting up here who's running. Gender balance, ladies and gentlemen. So I have a slightly different take on this. First of all, I agree pretty much with what everybody has said, but I see the problem as a little bit larger than one specific issue. I think our real challenge these days in north central Montana is making sure that the people who live in the cities, in the urban areas, who far outnumber us, understand what our challenges are, and we need to make sure that the people who live in the urban parts of the state We need to make sure that we get fair treatment from people who don't know what it means to be calving, who don't know what it means to be running out of water. And so I see a divide between the urbans and the rurals as a significant issue.
Thank you. Question number 3, we'll start with Chris. And so this is, how would you have voted if you've been in the legislature last session, or if you were, how did you vote? So how did you, or would you have, voted on continuing Medicaid expansion in the last session, and why? And if, of course, you weren't in the legislature, what was your position on the Medicaid expansion discussion? So Chris?
Yeah, so I would have voted for approving Medicaid expansion. And I just think that with healthcare in general, we've got to do more overall. I mean, that's a big, I look out across the crowd here, and don't anybody take this personally, but there's only a couple of young people out here. And yeah, so it's an issue for every one of us that we've got to be thinking about, and I think we've got to do more as a society to take care of ourselves and take care of our healthcare needs as we age, and that means all of us.
Go ahead, Lou.
I did vote for Medicaid expansion. I would vote for Medicaid expansion again. 1 in 4 people in our area is on expansion. If you want your rural hospitals to stay alive, there has to be. Without that, they simply close. You have a 60-mile trip to the nearest provider. We may not like it. I wish the government wasn't in healthcare, but it is, and I don't want our rural hospitals or nursing homes to close. That's the bottom line. I've always supported it. I was part of the original bill. I, for example, worked with that party to ensure that our like neighbors have to pay the state share so they don't get this for free. The only state in the nation that does that. Again, I wish the government wasn't in healthcare. It is. So Medicaid expansion is necessary. The folks opposing to it, living next to the Billings Clinic and Kalispell Regional, won't have their hospitals closed. Ours closed.
Zach?
I'm trying to remember exactly, because there were several different bills that kind of shaded that way, but I believe I voted against it in the last end of that, primarily because of some parts of that procedures and things that were paid for that I didn't approve of. So, there you go.
Yes, I not only voted for it, but I pushed hard in the Senate, got criticized for it by a number of different ones, but that opposed it, but we did get it through. And the reason, our rural hospitals need it desperately. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. They have to take the walk-ins without getting paid, and they just can't withgo that much income. And so for them, it's really, really critical. The other thing that I argued all the time too was it's a whale of a deal. I'm not saying it's a whale of a deal for the federal government, but they set the rules. They pay 90% of the cost. The state only pays 4% of the cost. So why would we not accept it? It would be crazy, especially when we're saving our rural hospitals. There's just no other way to vote in my mind.
If Obamacare had done everything it was promised, we wouldn't have had to vote for Medicare expansion, Medicaid expansion. I do believe the legislature does have a duty to make sure we keep these rural hospitals and health centers open so that everyone has access to it, but I think there's a better way to do it. There's just a lot of, I mean, we need to go all the way back to Obamacare. And that's not a state issue, it's a federal issue. The federal government just has to get involved and do a better job of that. We take their money, Montana's a welfare state, and we take more than we put in, and I agree with Butch, you know, if the money's there, we better take it because somebody else will. Unfortunately, that's the way government works, but I think we can do better too there, where we're not just, oh, you better take it or else we're gonna lose it. We've got to get more efficient with all of our healthcare system.
Thank you. And Susan?
If I were in the legislature today, I would certainly vote for Medicaid expansion for the same reasons that have been expressed heretofore. And I would also add that I would try to make provisions within the Medicaid system that there be assistance that would be available to hospitals and medical providers so that the people would not access the emergency room as their primary care provider. It's the most expensive care. When you have people who are coming into the emergency room with a sore throat, which probably could have been seen in an urgent care center, people are delayed, people are getting, mad and worried and sick out in the waiting room, and it is the most expensive care available. And anything that we can do with Medicaid and with the entire healthcare system to encourage proper use of the emergency room, I think that would be a great benefit to everybody, whether you were on Medicaid or not.
Thank you. And Justin?
I was not in the legislature this last session, so on the Medicaid issue, I know there's been a lot of hot topics, and I would be like Zach. There's things in there that I don't agree with that be covered with Medicaid, and agree with Llew that it is a government-run healthcare system, and there's got to be a better way because the monies that come, and 90%, am I correct, Llew? 90% of the funding comes from the federal government, and it always has those strings attached. And should they start to trim that down, which they talked about already, then the state's going to bear that cost, and we really need to look, as others have said, at some more efficient ways and better ways to do these things. But I would have more than likely voted no.
Thank you. Our fourth question will go first to Llew. And so in the last session, lawmakers passed several laws meant to increase the supply of affordable housing in Montana. Even here in Choteau, affordable housing is a huge issue, not only for workers, but for the employers who need places for their workers to live. And those laws mostly focused on zoning changes. So my question is, have these laws gone far enough, or does more need to be done? And if so, what needs to be done?
So yes, we increased a lot of zoning, a lot of the affordable houses, the manufactured homes, and duplexes, fourplexes were zoned out. Housing is a supply problem. Yeah, we have an issue. We have to do what we can to encourage supply. I'm generally okay with supporting the underlying infrastructure, the water, the sewer, those things that are part of government's responsibility. I'm okay investing in that. I do not think the government belongs in the housing business. While it can supply the underlying infrastructure, housing is something that needs to be supplied from the private side. We have some low interest programs we've supported and some startup programs. But truthfully, other than infrastructure, government needs to stay in its lane.
Thank you. Zach?
We're getting a lot of these cities and towns pretty crowded, and so I was kind of a little bit reluctant to support some of the zoning issues that came along. I understand kind of what's going on, but there's some areas here. Infrastructure, absolutely. These people that do subdividing and do development of land have to look forward for all of the water, all of the sewer, all of the electricity, all of the communications, everything that goes in the streets, and look at the traffic patterns. There's a whole lot going on here that, frankly, I think private business takes care of better than government does, with restrictions.
Yes, I remember back in the 23 session, right after COVID, or even during that a little bit, there was a big deal, and especially the representatives and the senators from the large towns, Billings, Bozeman, Missoula, it didn't matter, came with an awful lot of what they thought was promising legislation that could help out the cause. And some of it was hated and some of it sounded pretty good. But what you also run into though is that at some point you start stepping on the toes of the people in the cities that say, hey, this is our department. They want our help for the basic infrastructure like has been mentioned, but they kind of like to make the determination on some of this, how many lots you're gonna have in X amount of space and duplexes and all that kind of stuff. So we have to be a little bit careful too, not to overstep. So with that,
Oh, only a minute. This is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I've been fighting this for 25 years in Helena. When I first moved there, the first lot I built was bought was $5,000, and my wife and I built a house on it. Now the development costs for one lot are $50,000 plus, and it's all because of local government regulations. We've got to streamline that. Go back to water, whiskeys for drinking, waters for fighting. The exempt well issue is huge right now. It's a huge thing that the legislature's been kicking down the road for years, several sessions. That is going to completely stop all new development, which, you know, great, we'd love to keep all the California people out, but I've been telling local government there, I said, we can't stop growth. We live in too beautiful of a place and people are going to want to come here. So we have to plan for it, and we have to plan 50 years ahead, not be so reactive to the planning. We have completely eradicated affordable housing in our state because of failure of local government and the legislature to address it adequately.
Okay, and down on your end of the table, Susan.
Okay. So as,
It was mentioned earlier that I am the president of Helena Area Habitat for Humanity, and our issue and our mission, and we are private, of course, a nonprofit, to build workforce housing, which is a huge issue. And there's a little bit of a difference in my mind, at least, between affordable housing, which is sometimes thought to mean for people who are of very low income, and then there is workforce housing. Workforce housing is absolutely essential for people who we need to have, for our first responders, for our nurses, for our teachers, because they're being priced out of the housing market. People who are first-time home buyers are getting older and older. It used to be in your late 20s, your early 30s. That is no longer the case. You're well into your 40s, if not into your 50s, by the time you can get everything together to buy a house.
Go ahead.
Can you restate
Yes,
that?
I-
It's been a while.
Yep. Okay, so lawmakers recently have passed several laws meant to increase the supply of affordable housing in Montana, mostly focusing on zoning changes. Have these laws gone far enough, or does more need to be done? And if so, what needs to be done?
Thank you, Melody. On the zoning issues, I know there's been a lot of discussion, seeing different things in different towns, what they can do and can't do, and campaigning and seeing just the differences in the towns that we live in. And the zoning things, I think, should be left to a local community, not state overseeing that. It should be all on a local level. And as far as being able to afford a house, you see the infrastructure things that go on, and you also have the regulations, as Mike had mentioned, the cost of just getting everything ready to build and those things with permitting and all those types of things just seem to get in the way and hamper the building, and so it drives that cost and drives the materials and everything you're doing with engineers and architects and everything that has to be taken care of in those situations. So I think we really need to look at getting out of the regulation into it and letting the private sector build.
Well, I'm not gonna get up here and bluff anybody. I really don't know a whole lot about what happened with stuff that was passed at the legislature last time with affordable housing, so I'm not gonna bluff my way through it. I'll just say that I do know it's an issue here in Choteau, and I know that the issues that take place here in Choteau are gonna be a whole hell of a lot different than the ones taking place in Bozeman and Missoula, so there's not gonna be a one-size-fits-all. But what we've got to do here locally is maybe relax some of the rules to allow people to put small houses in and get workers, because that's what we're short on around here. So.
Thank you. All righty. Our next question is question number 5. And we're just going to go right along that same line of big needs, and Choteau has seen this as a need over the past several years. The Dutton Brady school system has addressed it. Choteau has the Choteau Youth Alliance working hard on it, but childcare still remains difficult to afford or find in many parts of the state. Has the state done enough to make childcare more available? If the state has not done enough to do that, what should it do to make childcare more accessible and affordable? And we will start with Zach.
I'm pretty much a, excuse me, pretty much a family first when it comes to childcare. For the people that really have to work and do everything, you know, why should we be subsidizing that? It's the property of the families in the first place. And secondly, employers can provide home care for children, etc. And as a last result, we would have government assisted in home care. But my druthers is to free up the family in such a way that they can do their own, raise their children the way they want to raise their children.
I must confess, this is not really my wheelhouse. Every committee I'm on is something quite different than this. So, but in general, you know, we certainly always want to help wherever and whenever we can. The key is to not overstep, kind of as I was talking about before. But yeah, I mean, it is a very serious for young couples. They're out there struggling, they're trying to get ahead, and yet, what do we do with the kids when we're on our jobs? So I think that's something we just need to keep our eyes wide open. There's committees that work on this, and I will certainly rely on their expertise and what they find out in their committees and their study and all the testimonies that will come before them. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't think there are any easy answers for this one. I think it's taken a long time to get us where we are. I mean, societally, I was lucky enough when I was growing up, my mom stayed home with us until all of us, I had 3 brothers, until we were all in school. And I think that's ideal. I think kids need their mothers at home. Unfortunately, we created a cost of living that is so high that it necessitates that both parents work. I mean, they're barely able to afford a house. It's gone to be a lot. I'm a free market guy and small government guy, so anything that the legislature can do to help facilitate that, but I don't think we should be spending a lot. I want to shrink government, so if we can, I guess I just have to look at it and make sure it was affordable and made sense, but I don't think there's any easy answers to this one.
All right, Susan.
Okay, so you may be interested to know that it costs more for daycare for your child than it does to send a kid to college.
Yes.
That's the truth. And, you know, we're talking about these challenges that face younger people, and like we just talked about housing, and now we're talking about childcare and health insurance. All of those kinds of things are real for these young families. And we need to somehow incentivize the private sector to provide child care for their employees. Their absentee rates will go down, the people will be more focused at work. This is going to be something that I am not interested in the government taking over this business. I would like to see some kind of an incentive, financial incentive, a tax incentive for businesses to perhaps provide this for their employees.
So yeah, once again, we've gotten to the government run the daycares. There's so many regulations on there. I know some providers that just the paperwork and what they have to do to provide a daycare, and I think they're overregulated. My daughter's sitting here, my wife and I both worked when she was little, and probably went to 2, 3, 4 different people. They weren't state regulated then, and seems like we've gotten to that point that they can't have a business without a lot of strings attached. Yeah, they might get some support there, but I think we've over-regulated ourselves right out of that business. There's probably people that would do it, but they don't want to take the time or have the insurance and all that that's required of them to have a daycare. And so I think if we could loosen those government regulations on them, I think we'd be a lot better off and let the public run. So.
Well, the world's changed a little bit, and we don't have the family units that we maybe had in the past, and that's just reality. And there's a lot of young mothers that are out there on their own trying to figure out how they're going to make a living and help their kids and make things work. And we as a society have got to decide if that we think that's important. Do we think it's important that we can help young mothers, young families get ahead, and what can we do to help them? And I think one of those things is, as a society, do we want to put the money forward to provide something? And that maybe that's an incentive, as Susan said, maybe it's something else, but I think that, yes, we do have to get involved because it affects all of us throughout that child's life and for the family as well.
So I've always viewed money as a scarce resource, right? It's harvested from taxpayers, income tax from the left pocket, property tax from the right pocket. So I've always resisted those ongoing flows on what I believe is private industry. So what did we do? Again, House Bill 924, which is a trust fund. We took the one-time only surplus of the trust that came in one-time only and stuck it in a trust. And there is interest in that trust that, so it's not ongoing from the taxpayer's pocket, that goes to help set up child cares, to encourage their setup. But what it does not do, and I will not want to see, is the government involved in an ongoing payment. But I do understand in these small communities, child care is very expensive. We need to incentivize their starts. The bill does that. That was the design of it. It's what I thought we needed to do in order to find a way to get this off the ground. We'll see if it works.
Thank you. And so we're now down to the last question. This is a question that I think I have asked at every single forum that I've sponsored over the last 35 years, which is a sad statement on how long I've been here. But I want you to all, this one comes up every single time. When push comes to shove in Helena, would you vote in the best interests of your rural constituents, even if that action goes against the position of your party? Why or why not? And Bruce, you get to take that one first. Lucky you.
Gee, surprising you would pick me for this. Yeah, we did go through this. And we did vote against our party a time or two. But in retrospect, for the most part, we voted with our party. But you can sure catch a lot of devil for just once or twice taking a different position. But that certainly happened this year, and yeah, I'll stick with my constituents any day, any time, any year. Guess we got 30 seconds to go, but I think that pretty well says it all. Yes, you vote with your constituents. You don't vote with party bosses. What we did run into this time was most of the bosses were concentrated in heavily populated areas. So naturally, they have goals that are different from us out here. Senate District 9 is a rural community. Small towns, rural community. Time's up.
I'm not running for this seat to be a representative of the party. I want to be a representative of all the voters all across the district, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. I want to listen to the voters. We had an issue in Helena. It was a zoning issue, and my opponent was the county commissioner then, and it was during COVID. There were people lined up to testify against this issue. It was virtually 99% against it, and she pushed it through anyway. That's something I will never do. I believe we need public officials who listen to the voters, and I'm going to listen to the voters no matter which party they belong to. I will vote for what's right for this district.
As will I. Susan?
As will I, and as I did when I was on the Lewis and Clark County Commission. I stand by that decision, even though there were people who were opposed. There were many more people whose property values and property rights were being threatened by some of the opponents of that particular piece of legislation. I have been a party boss. I'm former chairman of the Montana Republican Party, and I'll tell you this. Every Republican, and there are 353,000 of them who voted for Greg Gianforte, who I would consider to be a Republican, and there are about 300 people who represent the leadership of the Republican Party. And I'm here to tell you that the people who are sitting here in this room are better than the leadership of the Republican Party right now. Make no mistake, you guys are honest, you work hard, your word is good, you do not corrupt the political system by infusions of dark money, and I appreciate that. And I just want to let you know that it will be constituents first. Constitution and constituents. Party leaders can take a hike.
I would vote with the constituents. There's many sides to many stories, many different laws and regulations, but just being out on the campaign trail and listening to different people and their stories, and some, whether they're Republican or Democrat, have had some good visits with them, but it would be with constituents, and it's not just House District 17, it's the state of Montana, because the Constitution is for everybody, not just separating out districts and Senate districts, but the voice of this district would weigh very heavy, because that's the one I would represent. So, but it's got to be good for the whole state. It's not just parsing out groups here and there, but for the whole state, and most of all, the district of House District 17.
I think we're all probably going to answer the same way. Truth is, if you're a Democrat from Teton County, yeah, I'm probably going to disagree with some folks over in Missoula and some of their ideas. So yeah, I probably will be voting differently than the party, and I will be representing my district.
So proof's in the pudding, right? Let's say I voted against the party bosses on Medicaid, and they attacked me for it. I voted against the party bosses on cutting property taxes for 400,000 Montanans, because they were more in line with the Northwest Energies or refinements, or they have a big lobby, and just watch TV, they were attacking me for it. I voted against the party bosses on House Bill 924, your bridges fund, your water fund, we just talked about the child care component, and they are attacking me for it. It's pretty easy to know that I prioritize you. Turn on the TV, and you'll see the party bosses attacking me, the dark money attacking me, and the out-of-state interests attacking me. Listen to your texts, and you'll wonder who's paying for it. Well, it's the party bosses, dark money, and out-of-state. Prioritizing you cost me a whole lot of a beating, but I've always let the chips fall where they may, and I've done it for 20 years, and that's just who I am.
Every elected official who is a Republican, every elected official who is a Democrat, every central committee in throughout all our different counties and regions and precincts and districts all have an opportunity to vote for the Republican and or the Democrat and or the independent party platforms along the way. You show up to those meetings, you have a discussion, you work on that, you come to a consensus. When you offer to your elected people, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're an independent, whether you're Republican, you're saying something to those people that you support what that party platform does. Now, that doesn't dismiss you from listening to everybody at the constituency and to the folks that are here. I like the attitude that I have that listens to everybody here and doesn't really tell you what you think, but tells you, I try to listen to what you think.
That concludes my my questioning, and I'm going to give each of these guys a chance to do a 2-minute closing, but I'd like a round of applause for them before you do that, because this is hard. Okay, we each have 2 minutes for closing, and Mike, you get to go first.
Thank you again for hosting, and thank you everyone for coming out. We need more of this in our political system. I think people are getting pretty sick and tired of all the infighting, of lines drawn in the sand. We need more community involvement. We've got to have informed voters. I would urge you, research all of the candidates, research all of the issues, and call them. I have business cards on the table. My direct cell line is on it. Grab one, and anytime you want to call me, I'll answer the phone. I've got 6 kids, as she said. I'm running for them. I have one that already left the state because to find work. My son's in the second year law school in Missoula and is doing an internship with Austin Knudsen's office. And I'm hoping he'll stay. I have a daughter who's graduating in biology from Bozeman. All 3 of my kids got through in 3 years. I'm super proud of my kids. And that's one of the big reasons I'm running, but you people sitting here are the biggest reason I'm running. Ronald Reagan once said some of the scariest words in the English language are, we're from the government and we're here to help. I don't want to be from the government. I don't want to tell you how I'm going to help. I want you to tell me what you need help with, and I'm going to help you any way I can. Like I say, my cell number's there. If I get elected, call me anytime. It should be. I think a lot of legislatures have forgotten that they're supposed to work for the people, and that's what I intend to do, is go fight for every single one of you and make our state a better place and just improve our state for our future generations. I think we've kicked a lot of things, we kicked the can down the road on a lot of things we failed to plan. I think we really need to get up to date on that and just, I think we can do a better job, and I promise that I will.
Susan?
Contrary to some of the dark money ads that have come in the last couple of weeks, and more I understand is on the way from a group out of Washington, D.C. that says that I'm a Democrat in disguise. I'm 76 years old. I'm pretty sure by now I know who I am. I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican for a very long, long time. I am a conservative. If you have been paying, some people quilt, some people fish, I follow politics. And so for many years, I have been known as one of the toughest conservatives in Montana, and if you were questioning that, why don't you take a look at CI 67 in 1994, which was required, a constitutional issue that would have required supermajority to increase taxes or spending at a state and local level. We were outspent 20-1 during the campaign phase, and we still won 49.5% of the vote. I am a rock-ribbed conservative. I have been Republican for a very, very long time, and it will be my honor to serve as the representative of this beautiful, beautiful state. Republicans need to stop. We need to stop with the circular firing squad like we're in right now. We've got the president of the Senate, a Republican suing Republican Governor Gianforte. Come on. I would appreciate your vote. I am a conservative Republican. I have been for a long, long time, and it would be the greatest pleasure of my life to serve as your representative.
Just want to thank all of you for coming again. It's been a great evening. As we close here, just the things that we've discussed, from the child care issues to housing issues to infrastructure issues and water rights has been mentioned. There's many in the Choteau area with ranching, and Mike down in the Helena Valley with the subdivisions and that those water issues are. I said that probably like 5 years ago. I wasn't even thinking about running then, but that's probably going to be a hot topic in this in the near future. It is upon us. We see it through irrigation, we see it through municipalities. We had a meeting in Helena a week or so ago with the contractors and well drillers and people like that, and just trying to come to some common ground for water rights. And it's, as Susan had mentioned, with the urban sprawl and the rural areas and the municipalities, we got to come to the table and just figure these things out, that we can't make more water. And we're in a drought right now, and someday it may recover. So just those types of things with water infrastructure and some tax reform to work on the tax bill that was passed, and to try to get some relief for those that do have second homes and those who are trying to survive that's been in the family for years. So just working on those things and representing the people of this district, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you for coming.
Well, I've always said I'm not a politician, but now here I am, so that didn't work out so well. Look, I've got 4 kids, and like I said before, there's not a lot of young people here tonight. But all of us that are here tonight, we're handed a pretty good world. You know, it was a world where we thought we could get ahead. We had a good chance at buying a house at a younger age. We had a good chance of making the world a better place. Right now, these kids today, they've got a tough road to hoe. We've left them changing climate. We've got financial opportunities that are difficult for them. There's social issues. We never had to deal with cell phones and some of the problems that came with that. There's a lot of things, a lot of challenges. One of the things that I think we need to do as a legislature is not leave more challenges on the table for young people. So the things that we need to do to fix that are to fix our infrastructures, our bridges that Lou brought up. We need to work on solving some of these water problems so that we're not leaving behind more problems for the younger generation. So that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this. It's not for the fun of standing and talking in front of people. It's the last thing I like to do. So the other thing that I want to bring up real quickly is that everything in life needs a little bit of balance. If you get too much of one thing on one end of the stick, everything falls apart. And right now, I think in the legislature, I'm pretty much up here with all Republicans. We've got a lot of weight on one end of the stick. And if we don't start to have somebody that can throw out new ideas or different ideas to provide more compromise, we're not going to be representing ourselves as overall populace. So we need a little bit more balance. And if you, we've got cards over there if you want to pick them up and do whatever.
Okay, so first, thanks to everyone for turning out, and thank you, Melody. I've been to a number of your forums, and they're always well run. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I've listened to a lot of politicians make a lot of promises about what they're going to do. But to me, you dig in, you do the data, and statesmen find a way to deliver. I put my record of delivering against anyone's. Whether you're looking at trades in our schools, career tech ed trades, I carried those bills. If you're looking at dual credit, well, I worked on that and behind that as well. Property tax cuts, I heard lots of folks talk about what they're going to do. I got stuck with a job because folks thought I would actually do it. And it's going to take some work, but someone has to actually do it. Stand up to the lobbyists and do it. Fire funding, fast attack fire, actually going on fighting fire on public lands, and pushing back so we now by law have to get on federal fires within 5 miles. I carried the bill. I won in the U.S. Supreme Court on choice, so both students on the private side and public side are equally treated. My point being is, I hear a lot of talk. That disappoints me in the legislature. I like those folks that dig in and actually do the work, and it's never easy. Folks are angry with you, you get to live through a lot of dark flyers. I learned from the Americans for Prosperity, A.P. Walker, and later that my wife is a drag queen, my campaign manager of 45 years. I learned from a text that I am the director of transgender surgical services for minors at Benefit Healthcare. A lady came in and asked me ridiculous stuff. Right, but my point has always been, I'll vote, you know, I vote for the team when I can. About 90% of the time I vote for the Republican Party. The rest of the time I prioritize this area, this need, and I just let the chips fall where they may. If that's what you want, is someone that has a history of putting you first, and you know it because people attack, I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Zach?
Thank you. Appreciate everybody also. Senate District 9 is the crown jewel of Montana. You've got your mountains, you've got your rivers, you've got the most productive land in Montana. You've got some of the most long-lasting families that just need to keep on staying here, and they need consistent government. One of the things that when you try the same thing all the time and expect a different result, then that's the definition of insanity. I think we need to be consistent. I think we need to try some new things that get us out there and get us running smoothly again. So I appreciate your time. Again, Senate District 9 is absolutely, you know, I'm really proud to serve Senate District 9 and House District 17.
Sorry. Yeah, once again, good evening. Thank you, Melody, for all your hard work and your crew, and thank you to all of you for being here, having the interest to come out and check us all out, put us to the test here. Since I'm running uncontested, I'd like to chase a little different rabbit here. Dark money has been brought up several times, and some of those untruths that come out, and I'd like to focus on that with my time a little bit. You just think, what in the world is happening this campaign season? You know, it's always kind of tipsy-turvy, but this time just seems way worse than ever. There's all the mailers, of course. That's bad enough, but then there's AI. Now, AI used to be artificial insemination to me. Now there's artificial intelligence. And supposedly it can do really good things, but it can do some really awful things too. And big thing is it can take any of us here and make us look and act and say and dance and to anything they decide to make it do. And that's why some of this stuff that we see on TV every night on the news and newspapers, what have you, make us look so absolutely ridiculous. And I had, just a couple days ago, I had a guy, happened to run into him at the courthouse at home. And he said, gee, this one politician is really getting hammered. But then he turned right around and said, but I'm going to vote for him because he must be doing something good if he's getting hammered that bad. So thank God some people are looking through the fog and saying, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And what we don't need is a lot of, even from within the state, people influencing the election. And out of state, we darn sure don't need West Coast, East Coast politics in Montana. With that, my time is up. But stick around and ask questions.
So that concludes our formal debate. The candidates are going to stick around, so if you had a question that I didn't ask that you want to, please buttonhole them and get that question answered. Thank you all very, very much for coming out tonight. This is a great turnout. We've got a great group of panelists, candidates here, and just thank you for coming. Thank my staff, Vonnie, Austin, Maddie, Addie, Jeff, and Rick, honorary member of the Choteau Acantha staff. So thank you all for coming, and please have some more cookies, some water. We don't need to tear things down tonight. People here are always super great about helping, but there's an Arbor Day program here tomorrow, so we can leave most of this stuff up. So thank you all. Yes?
Can we give these candidates that are running a huge hand of applause?
Yes.
And tell them how much we appreciate them. I have run for office. It is extremely hard work.
Yes.
And I really respect every single one of them.
Let's hear it. Another round of applause for our candidates.
All right, good job, guys. Thank you very much.